If this movie didn't get you emotional, there's something wrong with you. Well, that was a movie. Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Just Mercy, which was written and directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and stars Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, and Brie Larson. If you don't know the plot of this film, it follows Michael B. Jordan's character, who is a defense attorney in Alabama. He works cases for inmates on death row trying to get their sentences overturned. He does this for two reasons, one of which is that he doesn't believe that anybody deserves the death penalty no matter what they've done, and two, he believes that many of these inmates have been wrongfully accused. But regardless of the reason, he takes up the cases and tries to get them overturned. And so this movie takes a closer look particularly at the Walter McMillian trial, which has Jamie Foxx portraying him. And I really appreciated how this story was told in this movie. It seemed extremely faithful to the real life events that it was based on. And it didn't go out of its way to try to demonize people or make anybody into unnecessary heroes. It just presented the true story how it was. In so many of these movies, it's slanted to the point where some characters are pure evil and other characters could do no wrong. This movie doesn't do that, it just presents the facts. And it does it mainly without emotional manipulation too, which is quite the feat, honestly. Yes, there are some emotional scenes, but they don't ever feel forced. They just feel like they're part of the bigger story that's being told. I rarely, if ever, thought that this movie was trying to deliberately manipulate me. At times, the dialogue could get cringy and soap opera-y, but honestly, the acting in this movie was so good that it didn't really matter. They were able to overcome it. I was honestly shocked with how good this cast was. I'm not just talking about the leads, I'm talking about every actor in this movie. I'd never heard of J. Alphonse Nicholson before, and I never heard of Rob Morgan before either. They're certainly not household names, but maybe they should be. They were honestly great. I know that they each had small roles, but they did the most that they could with it. There was only one scene in the entire movie that I can remember even thinking, that acting was a little bit bad. It was early on in the movie, about half an hour in. Michael B. Jordan's character goes to visit Jamie Foxx's character's family. There's a ton of people there and everybody's talking, and I remember one or two characters deliver a line that, it didn't really go well. But that was it. I've never seen a low-budget movie like this where every actor was good. I know it didn't have the smallest budget a movie's ever had. It had $25 million worth of budget. Some movies have been made for 15 or 10 or even 5. But the average movie's made for $100 million, so this is in the small budget territory. I pointed out last year when I reviewed Peanut Butter Falcon, with these low-budget, small indie projects, you've always got a couple of really good actors and then some pretty darn bad actors in there. This wasn't like that. Everybody held their own except for like one or two lines. All around, this movie was extremely solid. It didn't have any major flaws in it at all. Like I said, there was some issues with the dialogue that the better actors had to power through and the worst actors kind of had to just fight against. And it wasn't the most subtle movie in the world either. It was obviously trying to say something and it said it. At times, it really felt like the characters were just talking to the audience rather than each other. But because of the good acting, it kind of masked that a little bit and I wasn't ever really that mad at it. That's why I'm honestly shocked that this movie has a 68% on Metacritic. Why? I'm sitting here going, this movie's about a 7.5. I'd give it a 7.5 probably. How am I giving it a higher rating than every other critic? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what about this movie was really pissing off people? Like, I get it, 68%, that's not the worst rating in the world, but how? What am I missing that everybody else had a problem with? So I actually decided to read a couple of the reviews and see what they were saying. And some of the negative reviews that I read said similar things to what I was saying. It's a little bit preachy, it's not too subtle, but some of the other reviews said the exact opposite, where they said they weren't loud enough, they were being too subtle. And I just don't understand how this ended up pissing off people in both ends. And as somebody who's very moderate, and somebody who's very centrist about everything, I can relate, because whenever you try to stay fair to the issues and not have a over-exaggerated viewpoint, that seems to end up pissing off both sides. And I think that's what happened with this movie. This movie was fair. This movie was accurate. This movie made a point. This movie, however, didn't go over the top yelling about things and trying to make over-exaggerated points with stupid metaphors. It just said what happened and was fair about it. It stayed true to the source material and stayed true to the heart of what needed to be said. And it said it fairly, and it said it simply, and it said it plainly. And that's good enough for me. In fact, that's perfect for me. If you needed to be emotionally manipulated to get invested into what was happening in the story, there's something wrong with you. This movie should make you mad. It made me mad. It made me angry. It made me want to do something. And I don't understand why you would need to say it any other way than how it was said in this movie. I thought it was said perfectly fine. Yes, like I said, some of the dialogue was like a soap opera. It was weird. It was cringy. But yeah, that happens in movies sometimes. It's hard to write dialogue realistically. Yes, a lot of the events were condensed down to be made into a movie. You have to do that to make a movie. I don't honestly have any blaring complaints about this movie. Yes, they could have done some things better. That's why I didn't give it a 9 or an 8. They could have done some things better. But I don't think that they did anything blatantly wrong either. I thought that I was being a bit critical of it, honestly, giving it a 7.5. But then I checked IMDb and it's got a 7.6, and like I said, Metacritic gave it a 68. Why? I thought I was the stingy one. Apparently I'm fair. Apparently I'm generous. That's why I didn't watch it for a while. I put it off because I thought, well, if it's got a 68%, it can't be that good. Yeah, it was better than a 68. I don't know what you guys watched. So yeah, I liked it a lot. You're probably watching this video going, what? He's not being overly critical? I thought he only listed the things he hated about movies. No, I'm going to talk about the good things, because there were a lot. So why don't you let me know in the comments below what your favorite part about this movie was and what your rating is as well. And also please remember to like if you liked it, share, and subscribe if you're new here. That was weird. That's not how I normally say that. Bye.